Good morning, everybody. Good morning, friends. Good afternoon, good evening, whoever, wherever you are watching from. My name is Sivam Velaidam. This is today, Sunday, 10 o'clock. We are meeting again on Open Up. What is it, Open Up? Basically, it's a live talk show. We bring people every day, individuals, all walk of the life from any part of the world, and then we want to bring their stories. We want to hear their stories. So whenever they share their experience, overcomes or challenge or any struggles, any life challenges, whenever we hear that, we can think or we can change our mindset, the thinking. So basically, the idea is to make a positive impact in somebody's life. That's what it is. So Open Up is actually on the platform Voice of Men 360. Voice of Men 360 is based in Toronto, Canada, and it is part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day is being here for more than 20 years. This year is the 21st year. So last 20 years so far, about 90 countries joined together, and then they have been doing number of activities on a regular basis. IMD, International Men's Day, actually focusing on six things. Six pillars is called. So let me share the six pillars, and then we will. I am going to bring our special guest today. The six pillars of International Men's Day to promote positive male role models, not just movie stars and sportsmen, but everyday working class men who are living decent, honest lives. Number two, to celebrate men's positive contributions to society, community, family, marriage, childcare, and the environment. Number three, to focus on men's health and well being, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual. Number four, to highlight discrimination against men in areas of social services, social attitudes, expectations, and law. Number five, to improve gender relations and promote gender equality. Number six, to create safer, a better world where people can be safe and grow to reach their full potential. So these are the six pillars. IMD and also we are working together. We are focusing actually. Let's welcome our very good friend of mine. His name is Robert. Hey, how are you, Robert?
Sivam, how are you this morning?
Thank you, thank you. Very well, awesome, awesome. So let's start with the Robert. Let's hear about you. Give us some introduction about you, please.
So I'm, you know what, I'm reaching 50. I'm getting up there in age, and I'd like to believe I'm living a decent life, and it's taken a long time to get there as far as that goes. I mean, life is a struggle for most people, and I had to learn how to be a man kind of on my own and grow up on my own. So that was a bit of a struggle and a bit of a while figuring out who I was and how to be a man, just what it meant to be a man. So that took some time and effort. And, I'd like to think today I've grown up into a pretty decent, pretty honorable and pretty honest, man.
I want to actually. So he is a host of and a facilitator at Life and Love Life.
Live
So
and love life is what it's called.
sorry, live and love life.
Yep,
So
three simple
I want
words.
to ask you about that. Please give us some, take us, walk us through what is it exactly and what you are doing over there.
Sure. It's again three simple words. You know what? Live and love life. But those simple words are really how we should be living. Ideally, we want to live a life we love. But that's um a dream for some of us. You know what? Seems almost impossible because I mean, we all struggle to pay the bills, to get up in the morning, to go to a job we may or may not enjoy, but we have to pay the bills. We have these responsibilities, so life sometimes gets too busy and too caught up to truly enjoy life. So the idea is to find those things that you enjoy because there's lots of opportunities to do what you enjoy so that you're not working, you're not exuding too much effort, you're enjoying life. You're living a life you love.
Awesome. So let me take you when you are a child, like let's say 5, 10, 15 years old. What was the inspiration? Can you remember anything? Why do you want to create such a platform, and then want to be willing to change people's lives?
Yeah, that's a good question. I really can't say that I gave it much thought back in childhood. You know what? There wasn't a dream that I was going to change the world or do much. You know what? For a long time in my life, I was unmotivated. I didn't have a dream to be somebody or, to do great things. Because I was kept down as a child. You know what I mean? There's certain rules. A child has to know its place. Don't go above your station. You know what I mean? Be seen and not heard. So there's certain things that kept me from showing who I truly was or being who I truly wanted to be. So I didn't have that kind of influence as a child. I didn't have the inspiration I truly wanted or deserved. But as I grew into adulthood, this dissatisfaction that I lived with grew into desire for betterment. And then that desire for betterment slowly became a desire not only to help me become better, but to help anyone else out there who is struggling and who is finding a difficult time, to help them live a better life.
Let's hear about sometimes we call it midlife crisis or whatever, the inspiration or the point where you had extreme situations, or you were going through life situations, big challenges. Take us back then, and then how did you come across, or what happened, please?
Sure, absolutely. You know what? It was, again, approaching 40. It seems to be around that age for men for whatever reason. In fact, 2012 was when it hit the worst. It had gotten to a point where we were struggling so much. There's never money around. We couldn't talk about money, but there's never enough money, and we couldn't make ends meet, but we couldn't have the conversation either. And so things just kept getting worse. Eventually, there's no communication. So I was in a position where I was about to lose my wife because we couldn't talk anymore, lose my house because we couldn't afford to pay the bills anymore. And because I was struggling with all this, I was struggling at work too. So I was about to lose my job. I was about to lose all of these things all at once. And I had to, I'm struggling. I was in severe depression at that point. I don't know what else to say. Like, you're about to lose everything. But it was an eye opener for me. It was a wake up call, because you can either let yourself go down, and then where are you going to end up? I could have been that guy on the side of the street bumming change, trying to, find a cold or warm place or a warm coffee. You know what I mean? So I had to wake up, and thankfully I did. It was an eye opener for me because I took responsibility for the position I was in.
Robert, quick question. Can you take us back the exactly moment that is it a day or evening or in any day of the moment, the time of the moment, and can you go back what exactly you are feeling, what was going through in your mind, and then how did you come across, or what did you see the light?
You know what?
My
wife and I had one more argument, one more fight. You know what I mean? A conversation turned into an argument. And I just decided, because I'd been thinking about this for a while, but I just decided that's it. I'm not going to fight anymore. Whatever happens after this happens. And I had to be willing to let her go, because we weren't a couple at this point. We weren't working out very well. And, I went for a walk. It actually was the day of the ice storm, in fact, that we had back in 2012. So I went out for a walk out in the ice storm because I had to think. And, again, I said, you know what? I've stopped fighting. I'm not going to do this anymore. Whatever happens, happens. If we don't belong together, then we don't belong together. But I love my wife and I want to keep this going. So I went home. And we didn't talk to each other that night. Obviously, we weren't. So the next day I said, you know what? I'm done fighting. I'm done the arguing. if we're not going to be together, we're not going to be together. I said, I want you to love me again, but you need to find out if you still love me. So we actually separated for about a little over a month, but we were still living in the same home. We just weren't together. So that my wife could find out if she still had feelings or emotions for me, and she still wanted this to be a unit. And thankfully, we are now a lot stronger and have some conversations, hard conversations, because we went through that struggle and we went through it together. So I'm thankful to have her in my life, and that makes a big difference too.
Can I say something? Can I point out two things I just noticed? I just heard loud and clear, I believe.
Sure.
The moment you decided, you don't want to go deeper into fighting, so you just want to go out. So simply, sometimes most of us, we go and on, right? So simply just drop it and then go out for a walk or something, get a fresh air or something. So that way you can change your mind. Something will happen. Something will trigger. That's one. And the second thing is, so see, when you come back from outside or from walking, so you had a good feeling or the positive, the vibration. But I don't want to do anything. But also you had a good talk or open conversation, and then it's end up with right now. See, look at when you look at back that moment or that day, it's really completely changed it. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. We don't really recognize it or really feel it, but that's what it is. I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, there's just day. You know what? There's a day that comes. You accept responsibility for who you are, right? And then you know what? I will say the conversations become easier, right? Because you're now considering the future and what's to come, and because you're considering that, you're considering the care of everyone involved in that, right? So there's negotiation, there's consideration, there's compromise, and that makes a big difference in people's lives.
Exactly. So what's the point of keep arguing or keep fighting or end of the day, what we going to achieve?
Right.
Uh,
A lot of times people push because they want to get what they want, right? They need their concessions and they're not going to give up. Well, that's not getting you anywhere. It's just creating this tense or toxic environment, and we can't allow that to continue. So we try to open up and consider, you know what? Let the other person have some dialogue for a while.
Exactly. No, the reason, thank you for being open and then sharing that moment, because it's very hard sometimes, or most of us, especially men, they don't want to recognize it or, accept it,
Or even discuss it.
exactly, and openly say it publicly, so thank you, really appreciate that, because sometimes we say it, but people, they cannot relate to that. Oh yeah, I know that problem, I have the same problem, or I have the
Right.
same situation. But when you go back to that, this is exactly movement, and then how did you feel, and then how did you overcome that, it will help some people somehow, right?
Yes.
Thank you. So let's talk about your school days, or when you grow up, how or what are the challenges as a boy, as a young man growing up in a high school or college or somewhere,
I'll tell you, you know what? I was teased as a little boy. I was taunted a lot. I was a very small boy. Um, my voice hadn't accomplished itself yet. And so I was teased a lot as a kid, and it was hard to adapt and hard to get friends. Um, I mean, I managed. I got along. I had a few friends. Don't get me wrong. You grow up. Your childhood goes on. But I'm sure that affected me through a lot of my life. It also, you know what? When here's something we don't consider, and as I've learned as an adult, is we don't consider how childhood teasing is part of life, right? But we don't consider how that's going to affect the adults or affect them as adults later on in life. So you know what? It did affect me. I did need counseling. I did need help to um, remove a lot of remorse, or not remorse, but anger and animosity from my childhood. So it was difficult, but I mean, thankfully, you grow up, you learn, and thankfully you're able to grow out of those things.
Right, absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's not a simple thing. Every one of us go through the same situations. It doesn't matter any background or any culture or any religion or any country. So it's still we had to go through the challenges or the same path. Let's talk about your father and the son relationship. It doesn't matter either. It can be father or somebody else, but there's a man or the leadership or somehow it will affect somewhere, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk about that in your life. Early, I want to hear that early part, the childhood, and also when you grow up like
Sure.
a family man.
Yeah. So, I mean, my dad was in my life early. He actually died when I was 21. He had he went in for surgery, turned out quadruple bypass, didn't survive recovery. But that's neither here or there. But he was in my life till I was about 21. But very loosely. My mom and him had a very bad relationship. So he was out of my life. Like, they were separated by the time I was 10 years old. Prior to that, my dad was a very big influence in my life. A lot of my morals and a lot of my responsibility comes from my father at that very young age. So I'm thankful for all the influences he's had. Some of my slogans and some of my beliefs do come from his very words. So I'm glad to have that. But by the age of 10, we kind of started to drift apart. It was a struggle to try and stay father and son. And then we hadn't talked for about a year and a half or so before he went into surgery and didn't recover, and so we never saw each other again. So there was that, you never get to say goodbye sort of thing. There's that loss there. So that was the first, major man influence in my life, and I miss him, of course. But as I grew into teenage years, my mom, she has to move on, single mother. I did have a stepfather who was all right. He was generous to my mother. He was decent. But I've had two different stepfathers in my life, because both of them have done my mom wrong as far as, they weren't exactly faithful. So, one of them was a decent guy. One of them, I actually had conflict, and they were together the longest, but I actually had conflict with him for the entire relationship. So after my dad was gone, I didn't have exactly a loving relationship with a man. So it was up to me to find my manhood and find out who I was going to be. So I did have the loss of an example of male maturity at that point, and it was up to me to figure out who I was going to be as a man.
Robert, question. Do you right now, after you became a family man and then dealing with a lot of challenges, do you when you think back about your father, do you see any connection or anything, okay, what can you understand from, or do you have a different perspective, after you became a family man?
Sure. I'll tell you something. You know what? I used to, as a young adult or young teenager, I used to be mad at my mom and basically my dad, because the arguments, the fights, that's what broke them up as far as I could tell. And they could be violent, they could be vicious. But I never understood why they fought. I didn't understand what was all the anger and the hatred. And so I blamed them a lot. And then, you become an adult and you understand how difficult it is to live life, how difficult it is to live with a partner who may have opposite feelings or opposite thoughts. And then all of a sudden comes along, you can't communicate anymore because you're not accepting the other person's
Yeah.
challenges or whatever, that you're not accepting their side of it. So I could understand where the arguments came from and why they could happen. Not to say I forgave them for behaving that way. I can't forgive my father. Like, my father took a knife and threw it at my mother. Okay, he says to this day, I wasn't trying to hit her. I just, threw it in her direction, trying to defend himself, right? But that's something we witnessed, right? So I don't forgive what happened. But I can understand now why arguments happened and maybe, accept a little more of my childhood.
Um, I want to ask you, maybe if it is too personal, don't you don't need to answer, but you can share any opinions. Sometimes when we look at our fathers, it's easier to blame them because see, I lost my father when I was 1.5 years old. He was diagnosed with blood cancer, leukemia, and then he passed away within a couple of months. So I never had anything related to father, but at the same time there are other people replaced his, or I wouldn't say replaced, but somebody else came into our life, and then uncles and other people, they came in, and then they play a big role. They help us big time. But when we look at our father, it's easier to blame them. But on the other hand, at the same time, when we look at their life, we don't really know how was their life, and then how was their father's life. It's kind of like a chain reaction, or when you go back your father's life, and then his father's life, even great grandfather's life. So we don't know what was their influence, or how did they manage there. So maybe we don't know everything, but it's easier to blame them. What do you think of that?
You know what? I don't blame my father. Again, you know what? I was angry as a young child because I'd lost my family. But as grown up, I've never blamed my father. I always wanted my father in my life. I wanted more of him. So I never blamed him. However, you know what? With the fact that the family dynamic kept changing, different stepfathers, that certainly wasn't pleasing.
Yeah.
And I probably didn't give them a chance, or enough of a chance, to take that place in my life. Right. But I never held anything against them. My father, that relationship, we had a struggle building that relationship after he was gone from my life. That's the only thing. So no, I never blamed my father for anything. There's a lot of unanswered questions, of course, but I mean, I could never know his life. I could never know what he was thinking. His struggles were his own, right? And he struggled with my mom for a reason, for whatever that might have been.
Right. And also I believe personally, when I hear your stories, right now you are helping men, whoever is struggling, you try to help them. So I believe that the mix of all the challenges or emotional struggles you went through, maybe you don't want to see other people go through the same thing, so you try to help them. So there's some kind of spark, or some kind of inspiration, or motivation, or the personal experience. It's to give us some direction to go in a positive way. Do you see the connection there? How do you want to help them, or how are you helping?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, you know what? I began my journey with one simple thought. When I'd lost it all, when I was losing everything, I said there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
And my pursuit has just been that better way the entire time. But I'm learning, and I'm reading, and I'm gaining more knowledge. And all of it is talking about service to others, and being of help to others, and helping others grow. And one of the concepts of gratitude was you can help relieve so much of your pain by helping others.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're no longer concentrating on yourself. You're now dedicated to something in service of someone else. So your pain kind of relieves itself because you're no longer thinking of what's wrong in your life.
Because even here, the live talk show open up. That's where we want to bring the stories. You don't want to hold. We can talk about anything. I mean everything. But the thing is, like, at the end of the day, if you are holding up anything inside, and then you don't want to let it go, it will hurt big time, though, big time. So let's talk about outside the world. How do you feel, or what do you see actually our young man? Let's start with young boys and young men, what they are facing, and then how you can help, or
Sure. You know what? Our world right now, we're living in such a dangerous time. We're negatively charged, right? And our young men are playing a big part in that because I mean, we're the strength of society, right? Right? We're supposed to be the not necessarily the aggressive, but we're supposed to be the take charge type people. And so, but we're getting lost in this. We got to change the world. We got to stand up for Black lives. We got to stand up for, you know, all these different things, LGBTQ, all these things that are going on in the world. And they're just, I think they're losing themselves as well, right? They're not, like, we've already made it tough enough on our kids who don't have male role models for the most part past the age of 17. Um, and then they can't find their way in society. They can't afford to live. Doesn't matter what kind of job they get. They can't afford to buy a home. They can't afford to, you know, exist pretty much on their own. And we lose them. They, you know, we're there's just too many struggles going on for them to try and grow up and be happy and be joyful and just exist and enjoy life.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, what do you see, or how do you feel when you hear the a lot of crisis or problems going on within the age of let's say between 35 to 50, 55? The mid the family man, the life we go through every day.
Mhm. Yeah, you know what? I think we have to find a way to reach them. I don't know what voice or what terminology is going to work, um, but we have to find a way to reach our men and wake them up. Because if we keep going along the way we're going, we're headed for disaster. But we have the opportunity if we can get them to be more productive and more involved in positivity and growth and, you know what, creating and building great things, because there are more people out there who could build and do more things, but they're so lost and so um, they just lost their belief and they don't have any joy for life or any reason to keep going on. There's so many people exist like that right now, and we need to find that message that's going to wake them up and change the world.
Sure. What you see actually in the business world? Of course, you come across or you met a lot of people, especially men. We're talking about in the business world. What are the challenges actually you see? It's not matter. It doesn't matter either personal or business. What do you see? What do you hear most?
You know what? I think we could be a rich society, and that's something I'm actually studying and learning and promoting right now. You know, we could be a wealthy society. There's way more wealth out there to go around. Problem is, we come up with these thoughts or ideas and we don't know what to do with them. We don't know where to go with them. We don't believe we could possibly create that. But there are ways everything you think about can be created, and it could be created by you. You
Mhm.
just need to know there's knowledge you're missing, there's pieces you're missing, but you have to be able to, if you desire it enough,
Yeah.
put those pieces together and puzzle it together and create it and build it. I built my community based on that process. I built my upcoming event based on that process. All because, you know, if we get this thought that we can create it, it is possible. If I take it upon myself, look, we were told as children, you can do anything you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it. We just lose sight of what that actually means.
Right. Right. Um, See, as a facilitator, or even you want to do a lot of things, you want to dedicate, even I would say, like, because I know personally you, but for men's life, or you want to help them in any ways or some ways. So let's talk about the suicide things, like when we hear about that, because of the ratio, which is striking, like, I mean, three times over 80 or 87 percentage all over the world, especially on the men's side. So, what do you see, or how we can help? What do you actually feel when you hear that news?
It's very saddening. And I actually heard further news is that we're expecting that this year is going to be a much higher suicide rate, especially among young males, because of everything that we've been struggling and going through. And they expect that people aren't going to be able to make it through this mentally. So that's sad news in itself as well. But again, we need to pay attention when we're, first of all, we need to encourage our young boys. There is opportunity out there. We just have to show them how to pursue that opportunity. We have to. When they have an idea, nurture that idea, explore that idea, talk through that idea with them, make them feel valued, make them feel like they can be accomplished. Because right now, I think they can't feel like they can be accomplished. They don't think they can accomplish anything. Because they struggle so much. So I think we have to engage them. We have to make them feel like there is opportunity out there.
Absolutely. It's really hurting, or it's really even it cannot be done overnight. But at least we have to take some kind of steps. People, you and me, or we start to talk about that. Especially youth. I mean. There are courses or programs out there at the school level, but even college or university levels. But even though they are studying, they are smart, but still they end up with taking a wrong decision, or going in a wrong direction, I would say.
And that can happen right out of high school, right? Because at that point, you've lost your role models. There's no more teachers. There's no more people to guide you and show you the right way. So now it's up to you. And quite often, some people try to experiment at that point too, right? They're like, okay, you know what? I can go out and have some drinks, or I can go out and try this with my friends or whatever. So they lose themselves that way too.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, that's a important part. It's good you mentioned that. But also there's another factor in that, that let's say, even though the school or college or universities, any education institution, academic level, they're providing some kind of a learning process, but also the missing part is the leadership, or the self development is missing though. So that's where people like you, and then the coaching or mentorship, or trainers, they have to take some initiative, and then they have to willing to help them in some ways. I know some people are doing that, but we need more, because when they come out from the college or universities, they don't really know. They're just looking for opportunity, to make money, nothing else. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So,
and another thing that happens too is that, at that age, they're they don't want to listen so much. They're like, oh, well, who are you talking about this and that? You know what I mean? Who are you to tell me how to live? Right. So they have that attitude at that age too. So the hardest part we have is trying to engage them, trying to get them serious about, here I am talking these things, but I'm sharing my experience. And if you're wise enough to listen and wise enough to join along, you can live a better life, because I'm teaching you that, look, I went through this. You don't have to if you just take some advice.
Exactly. You don't have to make a big changes. At least 1 or 2 points,
Right.
Robert saying or willing to help. Just take some steps. Let's talk about your book. So what's the 10 steps, and then let's walk through as why do you want to write the books, please?
So, I mean, I've been looking for everybody wants to write a book. They say 80% of people want to write a book. So I've always had a book in me. I didn't know where I was working. I didn't know my niche. I'd tried to written a couple of nonfictions growing up. Never completed a full novel, but as I was growing, as I was learning in the personal development field, I wanted to share my expertise. I wanted to give back. And I started creating this process called it was 5 A's to achievement. Eventually became 8 A's to achievement. Now, as it's finally produced, it's called the 10 steps. And they're all A's, by the way, but they're called the 10 steps to achieve any outcome you desire. And they really are, again, 10 simple steps that we may know, but we may take for granted. But by implementing them and practicing them, and they are put in A's so that you could remember them. But by putting these steps into practice, you will be able to achieve your outcomes.
Mhm.
And it doesn't matter what outcome you apply them to, you will be able to achieve that outcome.
So since you are here, do you have that? Can you share the title quickly? The 10 steps?
It's called the 10 steps to achieve any outcome you desire. I don't have all the 10 steps written right in front of me right now.
Okay.
Actually, let me get my book. I'll take that 1 second.
Yeah.
So I'm back here. This is my book, The 10 Steps to Achieve Any Outcome You Desire. And it really is subtitled Build a Life You Love to Live, which is our trademark for Live and Love Life. And so the 10 steps really simply are, let me find it here. I really thought I had them at the front page. My apologies. But again, you know what? The very first one is attitude.
Mhm.
It really is. That was the first thing I had to adjust for myself. There was my attitude, right? If you're negative, if you're unhappy, it's hard to be positive. It's hard to start things off on a good foot when you're on a negative,
Right.
attitude. So I've got the 10 steps here. And so for attitude is the first one.
Mhm.
The second one is awareness, becoming aware of what you're doing, what you're causing. After that is acceptance, accepting your position. This is where you are. You got to do something about it. But also accepting responsibility for it. Next one, fourth is acquiesce. That just means you've heard the term let go and let God. In other words, you have to let go, let things happen sometimes. Sometimes we get so angry and frustrated because things aren't going the way we want. So
Right.
we have to detach ourselves from the outcome. So acquiesce just means to let go.
Mhm.
Then you have to ascertain. You have to understand what's going on in front of you, right? What's your position? Especially if you want to move forward, what is it you're trying to accomplish? So ascertain, figure out what it is that's in front of you, start to obtain facts, start to progress forward. Then it's assess. So you've you looked at your situation. Now you're going to compile all the facts and assess your position. Then analyze. You want to look at all those details. You want to know exactly what's involved. You may even want to do a SWOT analysis. Have you heard the term SWOT analysis?
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats,
Yes.
right? So you may want to do that at that point. So now that you've looked at all this, then you want to adjudicate. You want to decide. You want to, what is it I need to do here? And then you want to make a firm decision. After that comes action, right? Action. Just now that you've made a decision.
Number
you've
8.
committed. So you made a decision at number 8. Number 9 is action, right? Now it's time to make that firm step. What do I need to do? Take action. And then number 10, don't be afraid to ask. Ask for help. Ask for people who can help you do this. There are resources out there that are available to make all these things happen. You just have to be able to go out there and ask the people who have it. So those are the 10 steps.
Really amazing because it's easier, very easier, and then to understand and take some steps to. Do we have any kind of like workable or did you include anything in that worksheet or anything, or just simply a book?
Yeah, you know what? I always built it within. It says a program by R.J. Horner. I've always built it as a program in mind. I haven't completely developed it. I've taken some notes. I'm actually going to be releasing it as a beta program at my event in December.
Oh, nice. So I also want to ask you one more thing before we finishing the talk. So I know you want to do a lot of things when it comes to helping men's in general. But let's talk about that. Share some of your vision. Actually, what exactly you want to do, or just give some idea. How do you want to help them out?
Sure. Listen,
right? Doing.
Sure. I you know what, the quote that drives me through. I've learned a lot of things, but Zig Ziglar says you can have everything in life you want if you just help other people get what they want. That's what drives me forward. I want everything I could possibly have in life. I want to enjoy life. And I can do that by helping others have a better life. I know that by giving them certain opportunities and providing them with certain opportunities, I can have, by adding greater value to them, some reward to myself. So by helping them become better, I can become better myself and build a better life for not only myself, but for everybody out there. That's my mission. That's my purpose.
Exactly. See, it's really important to hear those things from you, from your own words, so people can understand, they can relate to that. There's a man, there's a person, there's an individual who is willing to help, willing to work with us, something like that, anywhere in the part of the world, because you already started do some kind of initiative on the go. So it's really amazing to hear that. Do you have anything else you want to add on that before we leave?
You know what? Just again, there are many people out there like myself, like yourself, like Jerome, who have created IMD, who have created so many great things out there, who want to help. And if you're just willing to ask, you're willing to reach out, there are people out there to help you. I'd like to add, people can reach out to me. Can I add my information there?
Yeah.
So people can reach out to me. My email address is rjhorner@live-love-life.ca. And that's my website as well, which is www.live-love-life.ca for more going on with our community and how we can help. We have an event coming up. So we've had some exciting things, and please visit the website to find out more.
Thank you. We are actually going to, I'm going to add that on the comment so people can see it, and then they can actually go on the links or anything, even yourself, you can add it too. So thank you, Robert. I really appreciate that because you come and actually are willing to share. That's the most important part is, as soon as you see that program open up, that's the basic thing. I really appreciate that because as soon as you saw that, you really want to open up and then share your life experience openly, open discussion. You don't really hiding anything, or you don't want to hide anything. You want to share with the world. So somebody else can relate to that situation and then take some kind of initiative or some kind of changes in their mental thinking. That's what it is basically. So this will help somehow for your the initiative you are doing for men's. I am extremely proud of you. Thank you once more. So if anything, please reach out to RJ Horner. I know he's helping a lot of people, and then just have a quick conversation, right?
Awesome. Thank you, Sivam. You know what? Open Up was a great topic, and I believe in being an open book. So I was very much looking forward to this conversation. Thank you very much for it today.
Thanks a lot. And before we end up, just quickly sharing this information that every Sundays we have open up this live talk from 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is Canadian time, basically. Whoever is willing to share your life journey, your challenges, overcomes anything, please come and talk. So you can share it actually. So and the other thing is on Wednesdays we do it in Tamil from 7:30 to 8 o'clock or half an hour or a little bit more. That's in Tamil, and also on Saturdays we do it either in English or in Tamil too. So whoever is from other part of the world, you can join and you can actually share your life journey. And we are also doing monthly webinar twice a month. So if anybody wants to speak about it or do a presentation on a specific particular topic, please reach out to us. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you.